Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Seyi Awe. I'm highly honored to be in your midst to share my little experience about SME finance, practical way of dealing with this. SME globally is the new trend that is going to empower the world enterprise. Unfortunately, in Nigeria here, we are still having it very difficult because our financial system there is over concentrated. But either we like it or not, SME is the way to go. All the multinationals today globally, they were at a point a startup company. Some multinationals we have in Nigeria today, 20 years ago in the bank industry, they were little boys, but today they are giants. By definition, a micro enterprise is an enterprise that has an asset value of about 5 million and that employs less than 10 persons, while a medium has a balance sheet of 100 million and employ less than 50 persons. Why do we have to focus on SME? Number one, SMEs will naturally, if they are successful, scale up to corporate, they scale up to conglomerates, and scale up to multinationals. So the value chain is very positive and very good. The spread of SME nationwide is a catalyst to economic development and fair distribution of resources. SME can only solve that problem by us having SMEs scattered all over the states in Nigeria. Then you will be able to witness some level of employment growth, reduction in social crimes, and increase in living standard. Globally, SME features, they are always startup. They are always very risky. They are very high risk, possibly sponsored by one man, sole proprietor. So the globally SMEs are very, very high risk businesses. But if you have to go to via Nigerian landscape, going by population trend, in 1991, the population of this country was 88.1 million people. In 2011, we were 167 million people. We doubled. We had 100% growth in population in 20 years. In 2021, we are possibly around 225 now million. The World Bank has projected by 2050 we will be 400 million people. I was fortunate to be in a World Bank conference 2 years ago, where it was projected that the most profitable country all over the world to invest in is Nigeria. You just need to pitch your investment in the sector of food, clothing, and housing. Because the 400 million people, they will have to eat daily, they will have to collect daily, and they will have to put their head under shelter. If we have to go through some numbers, when you look at India, that we share the same features, population growth, per capita income, and all the rest. SME accounts for 45% of the industrial production in India and 41% of the exports. In China, SME accounts for 99%, 60% of the GDP, and more than 80% of employment. Today, Nigerian unemployment rate is trending 40%, while the youth unemployment is going to about 60%. So it is obvious and it is evident that foreign direct investments, multinational, development theory will not solve the problem of Nigeria. It is SME that can solve the problems of unemployment in Nigeria. And by the time we now look at it, how are the SMEs funded? By the last count, SMEs in Nigeria are funded 73% via personal savings and 2% by the financial institutions. All the 24 banks in Nigeria today, they have SME desks, but it is highly cumbersome for you to get finance for your SME businesses. Because they start up, almost all the 24 banks will say it is a policy not to finance startup. Almost all the 24 banks will tell you that if you insist that, oh, I have passion for this, I'm committed to this, I need you to finance me, then the banks will turn it to collateral lending. They're going to ask you, what is the, how much are you looking at? Okay, I'm looking at 5 million. Okay, go and provide collateral worth 15 million. They work for 150%. So from day one, you are carrying financial burden. From day one, you are distracted. And because it's a new baby on the board, the environment is very tight. So by the time you are carrying financial burden, the success rate is very slow. The success rate is very slow because the bank will make it very cumbersome, very expensive for SMEs. And we can begin to count numbers. In the last 5 years, in the last 10 years, what is the success rate of SMEs financing in Nigeria? It's nothing to write home about. There have been several models, SMEDAM, NISAL, all the stuff. They don't have success. They don't have very good success record. So we need to think outside the box because SME is the only way forward. How do we now get this SME running? How do we empower ourselves as entrepreneurs, as promoters, and by extension, empower the nation? The government can only provide enabling environment. The government will not finance. And to the best of my knowledge, the government has been able to provide some enabling environment. Today, the president administration says, if you are SME and you have a turnover of less than 25 million, you don't pay corporate tax. The president administration says there are some items that are exempted from VAT. Those are qualified for SME. So in Nigeria of today, if you take away the corporate tax and if you take away the VAT, then it's like you have a new breath of life because you'll be able to focus on what you're doing and you'll not be worried about FIRS chasing you, closing down your offices and closing down your factories. So the enabling environment is about percent there, about 50% there. But what about the financing? The financing is actually the CPU of the game. The banks are not lending. Bank of Industry will tell you we are lending to SME. When you get to Bank of Industry will say go to commercial bank to get me a bank guarantee. When you get to the bank, when you get to the commercial bank will say, oh, go and bring 150% collateral. The banks are not interested in the fund, the business, they are only interested in the collateral. They want to collect the houses that doesn't have a relationship with the bank, with the business. They will discount the cash flow of the business at zero and be looking at your directors putting their houses on the ground. And by the time you put these houses, the bank will perfect it. So from day one, you are carrying 5% to 10% perfection cost on a zero cash flow business. So it is highly cumbersome and highly expensive funding SME via Nigerian banks financial model. And the records are there. They only have 2%. So how do we go about this? How do we go about this is, number one, is by looking at our savings. We have to upscale our savings. Help for SME comes from no bank. We just have to upscale our savings. That's number one. We have to look at. Number two, By the time you look at SME, and every individual has limited resources at their disposal. Number two is by partnerships. I know that trust deficit is very high in Nigeria, but partnership is a way out of this logjam that SME find himself. Two, three, four, five people coming together, contributing 5 million will be 25 million. They will be able to float a very good SME. But the issue is trust. Hey, what happened? Who is the chairman? Who is the managing director? Who is the CFO? All this can be well structured via getting a very good law firm to structure a partnership firm creation. And by extension, it is my recommendation that the ownership of SMEs should be separated from the management. So the owners will know that, oh, I'm only having equity holding, and you allow the professionals to run the businesses for you. Everybody has limited capacity in at their disposal. But at the same time, why not three, four, five professionals coming together and form a partnership firm and run the SME? And I can tell you for free that 10 years down the line, if well managed, in this country, there is demand, there is cash demand in this country, there's cash flow. Only what you need to do is to make sure that the business you are going into, there's adequate demand for it. When it is there, then you have crossed the 50% of the risk avenue. So by the time you have that, in the next 5, 10 years, you see this country balance sheet moving to 200 million, 200 million, 500 million. It is what is that has been tested and proven. Number three is by forming a cooperative union. That's another one. A cooperative union can do it very well. I'm going to give you an example of an Indian man. There's an Indian man that has a cassava processing firm somewhere in the Ogbomoso. The man is about 67 years old. He's an Indian guy. I visited him. What he's doing is just to process fresh cassava into gari. By the time the man opened up with me, the man used to have minimum of 300, 400 million deposit in advance for gari. So it's actually producing to order. It's not in Lagos, it's not in Port Harcourt, it's not in Abuja. It's in the Ogbomoso. And he's doing excellently well. So he knows what he's in for by the time he left Mumbai for Ogbomoso. We have resources at our disposal. Indians used to say it that in Nigeria, there's money everywhere, but only Nigerians doesn't see the money because we focus so much on the big tickets. And the big ticket thing will never get financial support because Nigerian banks will always concentrate their lending to the proven all asset debenture companies. So you that you are coming together as a fresh company, no matter what you are putting on the table, it will be difficult to get financial assistance. So forming cooperative union is another way to go. It's another good way to go. Then number four, of course, is about suppliers credit. Suppliers credit is when you want to set up an SME and you need some production equipment. We have done similar ones in Ghana, in Nigeria, where we lease production technology from US without Nigerian banking sector support. All what I did was to do an offshore leasing in US and do onshore leasing in Nigeria here. And we have to structure it in a way that the investment sum is paid monthly. And we support the company with the technocrats that will make it to work, the finance guy, the production technology guys. And to the glory of God, all these are doing well. We have to be creative. We have to look for creative finance. We have to look for creative solutions. If not, we will continue to tell the old stories. We will continue to do the blame game. We will continue to have increase in population. We will continue to have increase in social crimes, and the country will seem not too habitable. But the more we complain, the more the Chinese comes to this country and start their SME and grow it. The more the Indians come with $10,000, $20,000 and start their SMEs and they grow them, while Nigerians will keep on complaining. So for me, it is time for us to choose our partners and to see a way out of this. And what are the strategic opportunities that this model presents? It gives rooms for management consulting firms, whereby you have a finance guy, an accountant, an engineer coming together to form a management consulting firm. The country is liquid. There are so many people that have idle cash, but they cannot do any business. So for me, if you have management consulting firm that can actually support startups with finance expertise, accounting expertise, production technology expertise, and you float a company in Nigeria here, and you are able to calculate your cash flows and do financial forecast, and you are able to say per annum there will be a 10% return on every investment, those management consulting firms will get investors. Today, the yield on deposit in Nigerian banks is less than 5%. So that's an avenue for professionals to come together and float management consulting firm. The problem about SME failures has to do with management. It's not about ownership. It has to do with management. Illiterates do own companies, but when it comes to management, that is where the issues are. So the management structure has to be perfect. And globally, lenders, investors, they don't look at the face of the investors. They look at the cash flow of the business. They look at the quality of the management structure. No matter how beautiful an investor is, if the management structure is weak and the cash flow is not proven, it won't get offshore investors. So the management structure has to be sound, has to be stand test of time, and the cash flow has to be proven. These are various opportunities that this brings up. Private equity firms, they do well. There's a company in Victoria Land called Growth. They are doing well. They are funding SMEs. You go there with your business plan. They tweak it around. They support you with equity. They support you with management structure. But at the same time, they are very pricey. Globally, equity investment is very pricey. So you see these folks saying they're taking 55% of your company, 60% of your company over time. So PE firms, that's another window. Leasing companies is an opportunity for leasing companies to come on board to begin to lease production equipment to SMEs. Because what is the difference between the business our forefathers used to do with cutlass and hoes and the business we are doing today is technology. And that is why, with due respect, I look at the Western world. They can't support Nigeria when it comes to SME development because they don't have small scale technology. It is companies like China, India, Indonesia, Singapore, Taiwan that can actually support us in Nigeria. And let me give you this simple example. I work on a project that has to do with bakery equipment. We got a quote from a South African company. The quote was in excess of about 100 million. We got another quote from a European company and a Turkish company, same neighborhood. But we got a quote from a Chinese company for a Euro 2 volumetric bakery equipment, and we got that same code. Fresh manufactured machines, we get that same code for 40 something million naira. So these are budgets that you have to look out, because from day one, if you are running an enterprise and you are carrying an inflated setup cost, then that will elongate your profitability. So you have to look at the cost structure very well. The setup cost structure, you have to look at it very well from day one, because you are not the only one in the marketplace. It is not what it is. It is not what I buy, what I bought is what I'm going to sell. No, you cannot unilaterally increase the price of your own product. You are not a monopoly. So you have to look. You have to do your feasibility very well. Then you have to look at your setup cost very well. It is obvious for a company that has a setup cost of 50 million and a setup cost of 200 million. The company with setup cost of 50 million will break even fast before that of 200 million. So your setup cost is very, very important. And we have to change our mindset and begin to look at the Far East for technology machines, scalable machines, small scale machines that will support our SME development. The West will not do much in this circumstance. When it comes to economic development, national economic development, SMEs is the way to go. By definition of the Ministry of Finance, that a micro SME of 10 million naira will employ, or 5 million naira will employ 10 persons. If today the federal government decided to invest 50 billion in SMEs, all the states of Nigeria will be benefactor of such enterprise. But that same 50 billion will only qualify to fund maybe one or two multinational projects. And those one or two multinational projects will actually be in one or two states. And the best employment they can generate will not be more than 1,000 persons, possibly in Lagos or in Paraco. But if you invest 50 billion in all the nation, in all the states in Nigeria, each micro enterprise of 5 million will generate 10 persons employment. So you can do the maths. The 50 billion will give you 50,000 employment all over Nigeria. If 50,000 youths are employed today in Nigeria, I believe the country will have a sign of relief. So the only way out for both individual and national development is aggressive SME development. Aggressive SME development. And when it comes to business finance, there are two sides to it. You have your capital, you have your fixed assets, which has to do your bill with your building, generator, and all the rest. That can be financed via savings. Either you rent the property you want to use for SME, or you own your property you want to use for SME. That can be funded via SME. When it comes to the production technology, that can be partly funded via your personal savings or partly via supplier spending. But when it comes to the working capital, which has to do with your raw materials, which has to do with your creditors, it is important for promoters, for management, to make sure they show greater commitment. The way out of this is to use other people's money. And what I mean by other people's money is for you to use trade creditors. You need to identify the major supplier of your raw materials, and you need to do what? Bring them on board, not as a partner, not as a shareholder, But for them to share your dream that yes, I'm here and I'm going to be here for a long time. So we are not brokers, we mean business. So from day one, you begin to structure a kind of a credit supplies from such a supplier. And the way out is simple. Because it's a supplier, it's also trading on credit. Its unit cost could be a little bit expensive. Possibly you are getting a bag of your raw materials for 10,000, and the man said, if I'm going to give you 14 days credit, I'm going to charge you 11,000. That is 1,000 naira. But you just have to look at that. If you go to the bank, if you go to the bank to go borrow, or if you go to the financiers to go borrow, you have to calculate your cost of capital on that unit cost of your bag of raw materials and see if it is friendly or not. When you go to the bank, you won't get the money. And when you go to the distributors, they want to do business with you, but they want to do business with credible promoters. That is the only way you can sort out the issue of your raw material purchases. You have to trade on discounts or getting supplies from the distributor from the one. You can't get all the money to buy your raw materials. So your goodwill must be very positive. The stakeholders appraisal of your being of the promoters and management structure must be very positive before they can take a bet on you. And when it comes to your production distribution, you can't have all the logistics in your system. So again, you need to trade on distributors. You need to bring distributors into your system. You need to make sure that hey, we are here together, and you need to make sure you trade on their existing distribution network. At the same time, you just make sure you watch your cost because some distributors in Nigeria context today, they want to keep the company. They know you are in need and they want to kill you. That is the mindset of so many distributors. So you have to make sure you watch your cost and play safe. You don't fall prey to the suppliers. You don't fall prey to the distributors. So on your fixed assets, you are good to go. On your working capital, you are good to go. If you make sure you trade on trade credit from your suppliers, from your distributors, you will have circumvent a lot of bank finance coming at cutthroat terms. And by the time you flog this for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, the banks will come naturally to say, we never knew it could be this. Then you can begin to have the money. But at the same time, you have to be careful when you begin to have the money. Just make sure you don't borrow the money you don't need. Make sure you borrow the money you need. Make sure you don't overtrade. Make sure you are very accounting. Your accounting and financial report is very good. You must have the mindset of 3 years, 5 years roadmap for your SME because you want to make sure that in 5 years you want to present your financial report to investors. It is not your face the investors want to look at, it is actually your financial report. So if you don't get the financial report from day one, then it will be Mickey Mouse. So all these are the practical way you can get your SME running without actually falling into the bubble traps of the banks, which actually remain stagnant and let the bank dictate the future. So these are all the ways that we can actually grow SMEs. And in conclusion, I have it always in my head that those who trust in the Lord shall do greater exploits. I want to lay it on the table of the full God of this platform that it is high time we begin to partner with ourselves. It is high time we begin to do greater exploits together. It is high time we begin to partner together. It is high time we begin to grow together. We can only do this together. The government will not do it for us. Thank you, and God bless you. His questions were on partnerships, because partnership doesn't last in Nigeria, and I'm going to answer that last. And when it comes to savings, his questions were on low savings, regular income, and all the sort. Yes, uh, the economy is a reflection of individual pocket. Savings very low in Nigeria, but again, it's a route we must take. Uh, since my primary school days, even when ₦1 is $1, Nigerians that be complaining. When we used to eat foreign imported rice, I'll be hearing the complaints in the 80s. Nigeria is tough. Nigeria is tough. And up to today, Nigeria is still tough. So for me, the way out of this is for one to be determined, for one to be aggressively determined to say, hey, I got to save to move to the next level. Because even today, if you want any bank finance for anything, the bank will ask for your equity, and your equity will come from your savings. So that means if you don't have savings, that means there's no way out. And let me give you a model that I adopted way back. When I was a CFO of a telco service company, I was in a salary of about 1 million then per month. What I did, because I knew that I'm not going to be in that company for too long, and I want to make sure I have savings to start my SME. What I did was to call a bank. I got a property, and I told the bank to finance the property for me. I tied my monthly salary to the repayment of the loan. Out of 1 million salary that I used to take then, I committed 900,000 to the bank. So I only have 100,000 to cater for domestic food and all the rest. And immediately I finished paying for the property 2 years down the line. I resigned from the position. I sold the property. The property has gained value. Property that I bought for 20 million then, when I want to sell it, I sold it for 30 something million. I cashed out on the property. I used the 32 million to bring in equipment for my SME. That is how I was able to circumvent it. I have to discipline myself. For that 2 years, I didn't buy any suits. I didn't buy any car. I didn't buy any. I don't just to eat, go to work, come back, service the loan. But I know what I'm servicing. And after the 2 years, I sold the land. I sold the property. Then I became a big boy. So and I used the more money to fund my SME equipment. And today, the SME is doing well. So you just have to be creative around whatever you are handling. Without savings, without you putting positive cash on the table, it will be very tough. And that leads to the partnership. Because of the limited savings, we look at it, okay, partners should come together. Yes, trust deficit is a deal breaker. So what is the way out? The way out is for people of same religious belief, same mindset, like this platform, to come together and begin to partner with themselves. That is the way out. This platform, 2, 3, 4 people. Hello? Hello? 2, 3, 4 people on this.
Hello, Mr. Folabi. Maybe you should type your question in the chat box. Please, you can go on, Mr. Awe.
Yes, sir. 2, 3, 4 members of this platform can come together, float a partnership company, get a very good lawyer to write your shareholding agreement, 25% equal shareholding, and you know that, okay, we are having equal shareholding structure. So nobody is the chairman, nobody is director, nobody is. And from there, for me, I look at the life of the business and not the life of who owns what. Believe you me, it will be difficult globally for a one-man business to have access to finance. But it is a lot easier for two, three, four, five ownership company to get finance because the risk profile is lower than family business. And that is why you see Dangote diluting shares. You see the multinationals diluting their shares because they want to have access to international finance. 100% of zero is zero. 1% of 100 million is positive. So at any point in time, we have to think of marginal revenue rather than I'm the chairman, CEO, good managing director of zero-based company. So for me, that is the way out. We have to discipline ourselves to commit some savings and to be strategic and to be creative. And we have to begin to look at who can I go to bed with on this platform to grow an SME together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. I think those are very practical, though tough options, but they are realistic. They are realistic. And if I was going to add to it, because recently I was working on a project that involved raising capital, and I had to analyze a lot of. Recently we've heard about all the startups that are raising, multiple millions of dollars, and when you look through the profiles of all of these organizations, the Paystacks, and so on of this world, number one, they are not. There's corporate governance, definitely, and so they structure themselves to raise finance, because you will see very clearly that without those attributes clearly seen, their risk profile, their management structure, it will be impossible to raise capital. And for an SME, it means it will be impossible to raise capital if those structures are not there. So it means the business will end up continuously bootstrapping and struggling. So I absolutely agree, sir, that it is important to have structure in place, and seed capital, which is what we put together ourselves, is critical as well, though difficult. All right. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your time. Is there any other question? Okay, thank you, Mr. Folabi. I've seen your comment. If there's no other question, I think, okay, there is Mr. Sampson, and this will be the last question we'll take this evening. Please, Mr. Sampson, you can go ahead. Okay, and then I'll take Mr. Shebundada again because I think he wants to make a comment. But after Mr. Sampson, please, and those will be the last two, and then we move to call to membership. All right. Mr. Sampson, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, my name is Samson Odikpe. I live in the Czech Republic.
Okay.
I see this as a very good opportunity, and I'm very happy to be part of this. I've been in the Czech Republic for more than 20 years.
Wow.
When it comes to credits, buying things on credits and all those things, there are no issues there. You get clean credit with single digit. As in interest, less than 5% per annum. Less than 5%. Then I will load. I own a company there. I will get credit with my company name there. Then send it to my company in Nigeria. Yes. One thing I want us to take into consideration, it's not all about getting money.
Yes.
The ideas are there. Then the problem is the Nigeria factor. That one cannot be overemphasized.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, I brought in containers like, let me say 18 or 20 containers. I didn't drop $1 because I've been there for more than 2 decades. I deal on major raw materials for the feed industry. I will bring these things into Nigeria. Then the problem will start with my port, with our port is there. When you do your costing, your projection, everything, the system in Nigeria defies all known economic theories and principles. When you say, oh, this thing, for example, credit, for example, my supplier will, the producer will give me, let's say 10 containers of poultry meal. Go and sell in your country. Then the mode of payment is bills for collection, payable within 60 days from BL date, bill of lading date. Then I will say from the port, maybe Bremerhaven or Hamburg to Lagos is 30 days. Then I will project 15 days to get those containers out of the port. My brothers, my sisters, sometimes 6 weeks, I'm still struggling. Then coming out of the port, you will meet some customs officers there. They will tell you this is not the right value of, they will be the one telling you this should be the value of what you are importing into the country because they want to collect money from you. No, it should be, I said, but are you the one to tell me? You understand me? For example, let me give an example. Recently, they said, no, poultry meal should be this. Okay, for example, there are like 4 categories of poultry meal, which has to do with the CP, which is the crude protein content. We have the one of 60% CP, 62, 64, 65, 68. When we bring it into the country, the custom will be dictating to you that it should be like that. I said, but for example, last month, I brought in poultry meal of 68% CP. Now I'm bringing in 60% CP. You are not telling me the price should be the same. So bringing these things out, for automatically spending 6 weeks, I have already defaulted. Then getting to my warehouse, I have off-takers. I don't have any money. I don't need any money from the bank. Now these people will pay me within 2 weeks. Now to repatriate the money back to the Czech Republic will be another story. So the fact that our country is not conducive for business cannot be gainsaid. We all know this. So that is the problem. There is a fundamental problem with doing business with this country. SME financing is one thing. What about your reputation? They will tell you, from appropriate technology, bring this back home. But my country is not conducive for business. Sometimes I feel like shedding tears. I have partners in the Czech Republic. Some say, take a closer look at Europe. Business is nosediving. They want to enter Africa. They will be begging you with goods on credit. For example, recently I got a loan of $2 million at 4.5%. It's like free money. Then the problem will be how to make judicious use of that money in my country. From the port, today they will tell you, trucking from the port to my warehouse, today they will tell you 400. The next consignment they will just have it's 850. How do you reconcile that? How do you put that together? So all those fundamental issues should be at least discussed in this platform. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, sir. If we start those conversations, it's almost it will be hard to begin. But let's attempt to address it because those are very real issues. They are very real issues, and I'll allow Mr. Awe, respond to this.
Thank you. What Mr. Sampson said, they are all correct. It is very tough doing business in Nigeria. Nigeria, for me, is an emerging economy with a lot of issues. And all what you have said, they are 100% correct. And for me, because they are correct, my recommended solutions are: number one, when it comes to bills for collection, you may need to extend the tenure of your business for collection. Because at times, freight could be 30 days to Lagos Apapa, and you may not leave Apapa for 60 days because of port congestion. But the issue is that demand for the product? Yes, there is demand. So it has to do with tenure issue. So for us, what I run with unconfirmed letter of credit for 365 days with partial payment or back-end payment. So it gives me enough room without defaulting. So that is number one to that. Number two, when it comes to tariff, today you bring a 65%, customer will say, no, it's not 1 million, it's 10 million. It happened to me. I brought in some machines, I showed them my PFI, they said no, that is not the value of the machines in Nigeria, that possibly have transferred some money to the supplier without formalizing it. So they have to tell me to pay the real custom duty, and which was very good, very crazy. But I learned a lesson from that. That by the time you are filling your form, you need to engage a very good guy that knows about tariff coding. When you open these import tariff codes, you will see other fan, you can see varieties of fan like 50, and each one will carry different codes. Between you and me, ladies and gentlemen, I lost 1 million naira on what I'm sharing with you because of an extractor fan. Extractor fan in Nigeria is about 30,000 naira, but I brought in high-speed extractor fan from China, and I wrote on my form high-speed extractor fan. By the time you get to custom opened the tariff book and said high-speed extractor fan is an heavy-duty extractor fan and is carrying 92% import tariff. And I lost 1 million naira because on 30,000 naira. So if you must import machines, documentation-wise, you need to be very careful. You need to make sure that the right code is given to your item. Because if you put a wrong code to your item, custom is going to look at they're just going to rely on what you write on the form. They are not going to rely on what is in your container. So that answers that. Then when it comes to dollar reparation, dollar remittance, everybody knows Nigeria is struggling with dollars. We only have crude oil. And that is why, and Nigeria is a import dependent country. So that will also tag along with your business for collection. It is important you extend the tenure of your business for collection. If you have a business for collection for 365 days, or you have unconfirmed letter of credit for 365 days, the suppliers with partial shipment clauses, then you have to open up to the supplier that yes, we will get this money, but we will get it worst case before 365 days, but we will get it in partial tranches before then. That will be an agreement between you and the supplier, and which will have averted your default risk. But putting numbers to it, 40 days, 50 days, 60 days, surely you will default, and that will not be good for your rating. So the solution to it is to extend your tenure and to make sure you code your tariff properly. That's the solution to it. As bad as it is, demand is in Nigeria. And I'm glad to say you are not struggling with off-takers. Off-takers pay you cash. They are not defaulting. So we just have to be strategic and get it out.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Sampson is trying to, react to your feedback. Sir, please, if you can just do it in 1 minute, because I still want to take Mr. Segun Dada, and this segment ends in about 10 minutes now. Let's end by 7:45. Okay. All right. So, Mr. Sampson, please, you can react and let move to Mr. Dada. Yeah, please unmute yourself.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity again. Mr. Awe, thank you, sir. Let me say this, I'm a seasoned business person.
Yes, sir.
You know, I said I deal on major raw materials for the feed industry. All these people, for example, you name them. Olam International is my #1 client. Olam.
Okay.
The problem is that when you talk about HS code, wake me from my sleep, I will tell you. You understand me? So the problem is that how are you saying I'm in position to dictate to my lender that they have to accept my condition when giving me credit? When you say bids for collection payable within 365 days, how many cycles will you be able to do in a year, sir? And when your off-takers, the end users are waiting for you to supply every month, it doesn't work that way. You know, they are the one to tell you this is how we want it. If you cannot work and repatriate within 60 days, forget about it. They can use same money within Europe and get it within 30 days. So they will not say because you are having problem in your country, they have to dance to your tune. No, you are the one to capture everything and do your plannings based on what is available there. No, they have nothing to do with the problem in Nigeria. Remember, the problem in Nigeria is not universal. That's it. They will tell you, Mr. Samson, we have money for you. Can you do this? Can you do this? Same money. If they send same to Ghana, the money will go back to the Czech Republic within 60 days. Send same to Ivory Coast, it will go back. So I will not tell them, I should be given that preferential treatment because things are not bad in my country. They will see that as a flimsy excuse. That is it. We have opportunities there, we have credits there, but to make judicious use of those monies in Nigeria is still a problem. We are talking about customs, my sir. Customs in Nigeria, you know them. Give them 10 times HS code. They will tell you, they will send the containers to Ikeja. Then you will need millions to sell it. So you will be left with no option that say, okay, please manage this 100,000. That is the situation in our country. Thank you, sirs.
Thank you very much, sir. Like I said, these are deeper issues than we can get to the depth. I'm sure that there are other people that would also want to contribute, but time is not on our side. But we appreciate the contribution, and maybe this is something we can discuss further outside of the meeting. I would like to take Mr. Sheikh Dada's comment now, and that will be the last item we take before we move to the next agenda item. Mr. Dada, please over to you. Thank you very much, Mr. Samson and Mr. Awe.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Awe, once again. Now, Mr. Awe, quickly, Mr. Samson said so many things that are very extremely instructive. I wish that you take your time. In training, we have what we call packing lists. Once we come across big issues like Mr. Samson raised, we always put it on packing and say, look, let us do more investigations and research to be able to come to a solution to all these issues. It's not a bad thing for people, consultants like you. Now, let me tell you something about some issues you raised tonight. They are very cogent. I gained a lot from your presentation. There's something that you missed out from that presentation. I'm sorry to say that helped us a lot. You picked on group formation, but you only mentioned partnerships and cooperatives. Let me tell you one of the biggest challenges we have in Nigeria. It is a lack of a unified platform to tackle most of the problems that Mr. Samson raised. Because most of these problems, if they are not tackled, all the micro issues that you raised on business financing will not work. And I will explain something to you. Look, the person you are talking to, I'm a former chairman of the Nigerian Association of Small-Scale Industrialists. I'm an entrepreneur. I import from the US. I represent 3 major American companies in Nigeria. I'm an awardee of the US ambassador to Nigeria for encouraging trade between Nigeria and the US. And let me tell you something. You said something about people collecting money in Naira, that the fluctuation of dollar does not affect them. It affects them. I told you I'm an EDI with SMEs. The structure of the loans they give these SMEs, micro small business, comes in the ratio of 70 to 30. 70 for fixed assets. Most fixed assets are dollar dependent. Most. You want to buy a generator, nobody manufactures generator in Nigeria. You want to buy a dryer that most cassava producers, most of the processors in the agricultural sector use, palletizers, they are imported. Most of these people also use, once they have a problem, they want to buy parts for all these materials, they are all imported. So even if they collected the money in Naira, they are still going to pay back at the current rate, that Naira has, or they are going to raise their money to pay back the loan at the current rate that Naira is showing today. So these issues are macro, they are interrelated. In the SMEs, this thing, we do business plans for these people. While doing business plans, we see the magnitude of problems that these people are going to encounter. If they now have access to finance. So in order not to, let me just quickly run, because there are so many things to say about MSME finance here, but just 1 hour or 2 hours is not enough to tackle all the issues. But what I will advise us to do, especially Mr. Awe as a consultant, as a management consultant and whatever, is that we have to look at this thing from the macro level, because like I said earlier, every of those issues are interconnected. Every issue that Mr. Sampson from Czechoslovakia raised are interconnected to the issue of failure to assess credit, or even failure to pay back credits that were assessed. So we have to put that. Let me quickly just say this finally. The issue of staff, human resources for SMEs. Do you know the cost to SMEs? Most of the people you engage for your businesses, within 3 months, a bigger company snatches them from you. You have to change them. Bottom line, it's going to affect your resources, it's going to affect your revenue. You see that all these things are interwoven. So if we do not take it from the holistic point of view, will be, and one major solution I can provide here is that SMEs must form platforms beyond partnership, beyond cooperatives. They must take over most of these rubbish associations, like the one I belonged before. I'm no longer there, NASI, like NASIMA, Nigeria Association of Chambers of Commerce, because those are very potent platforms they can use to fight all these external challenges that Mr. Sampson raised. Thank you very much, and God bless you.